Mira hadn't wanted the house at first. It was too old, too isolated, and far too big for just the three of them, her, Jason, and their daughter Ellie. But Jason had fallen in love with it the moment they pulled into the long gravel driveway, the tires crunching under the trees like they were announcing the family's arrival to the past. The two-story colonial sat in a clearing surrounded by woods, its windows like eyes watching silently, patiently. "It's got character," Jason said, running his hand along the porch railing, weathered but strong. "It's got creaks," Mira muttered under her breath, "and probably squirrels in the walls." Ellie, however, had already claimed a room upstairs and was busy naming the trees she could see from the wide bedroom window. Her joy melted Myra's reluctance. Maybe a fresh start was what they all needed. The first few nights were uneventful. Unpacking boxes, scrubbing cabinets, arguing over where the couch should go. Life felt almost normal. But on the fourth night, Mira heard it. A sound. It was around 2:30 a.m. Jason was snoring softly beside her, and Ellie had been tucked in hours ago. Mira had just returned from the bathroom, her feet chilled by the wood floor, when she paused near the living room and heard it. Thump! A dull, singular noise. She turned sharply, heart picking up pace. Nothing. The house was still. Moonlight spilled across the floor through half-closed blinds. Maybe something had fallen in a box. She waited, listening. Silence. She went back to bed, brushing it off. But the next night, it happened again. Only this time, the sound was followed by a dragging noise, faint but unmistakable. Thump drab pause. It was coming from behind the living room wall. Mira shook Jason awake. "Did you hear that?" He groaned, rubbing his eyes. "Hear what?" "That sound. Behind the wall." Jason sat up, listening. But now, of course, there was nothing. "It's probably the house settling," he mumbled. "Old beams, you know." But Mira wasn't so sure. The next morning, she couldn't let it go. As Jason left for work and Ellie prepared for school, Mira stood near the wall and knocked. It sounded normal, solid. Then she knocked again, a few feet over. Hollow. She felt a chill crawl up her arms. That afternoon, she called Jason. "There's a space behind the living room wall." He sighed through the phone. "Mira, I'm serious. I think there's something back there." Jason promised to check it out when he got home. That evening, with Ellie drawing quietly at the dining table, Jason pulled out a flashlight and a screwdriver. He removed the trim first, then carefully cut into the drywall. What they saw behind it made them both take a step back. There was no insulation, no wires, no studs, just brick, old, crumbling, and strangely spaced. Not stacked like part of the foundation, more like a barrier or a door. Jason pried one loose. Beyond it was darkness. A hole. No, not a hole. A tunnel. The flashlight beam revealed dirt walls, roots snaking through the ceiling, and claw-like marks along the sides. It looked old, hand-dug, no doubt, but narrow. Too narrow for anyone of Jason's size to enter easily. Who would build this? Mira whispered. Jason shook his head, baffled. "I have no idea. It wasn't in the home inspection. No mention in the sale paperwork. No hint from the old couple who had lived here for 30 years before moving to Florida." Jason took a few pictures with his phone and measured how far the tunnel stretched with a broom handle. "At least 20 feet, he said, "but it bends near the end." Mira felt uneasy, like the house had just changed. They put up a board for the night and tried to pretend it hadn't happened. But Ellie was curious. "Why was there a hole in the wall?" she asked at dinner. Jason smiled gently. "Just some old stuff, honey. Nothing for you to worry about." But Ellie didn't drop it. "It was a tunnel, wasn't it?" Myra's fork stopped midair. "How do you know that?" Ellie shrugged. "I heard it. Something was whispering." Mira glanced at Jason, alarmed. Jason laughed nervously. "You probably dreamed it, pumpkin." Ellie just kept coloring. She drew a dark tunnel. with something standing at the end. Something tall, shadowed, and smiling. That night, Mira had trouble sleeping. She kept staring at the ceiling, imagining the tunnel just beneath them, like a hidden artery running through the house. What if something was down there? What if someone had used it recently? She got out of bed, went to the kitchen, and poured herself a glass of water. Thump! She froze. The sound came again. Drag. Pause. She tiptoed toward the living room. The board covering the hole had been pushed aside. Her heart stopped. She reached for her phone and turned on the flashlight. The tunnel was still there, still black, but now it felt like it was waiting. She backed away, slid the board back into place, and nailed it down. Then she made a decision she never thought she'd make. "We're going there tomorrow," she told Jason. The next morning, Jason dressed in jeans, boots, gloves, and a headlamp. Mira followed him with an old backpack, rope, flashlight, and first aid kit. They told Ellie they were cleaning the attic and locked the front door behind them. Jason crawled into the tunnel first. Mira followed. It was tight, uncomfortable. Dirt brushed their shoulders. Roots dangled in their faces. The air smelled like mold and something metallic, like old blood and rust. Jason's voice echoed ahead. "I see something. An opening." Mira crawled faster, her knees aching. Jason reached a small stone chamber, no taller than 5 feet. Mira gasped when she entered. The walls were lined with carved symbols, some ancient-looking, others almost childlike. The air was colder here, heavier. At the center of the room sat a rusted iron box, sealed shut. Jason wiped dust off the lid. Mira read aloud the carved phrase above it. "Quat clausum menir debet." Jason frowned. "What does that mean?" Mira checked her phone. "That which must remain sealed." They looked at each other in silence. Jason reached for the box. Jason's fingers hesitated just above the lid of the rusted box. His breath shallow. The silence in the chamber wasn't ordinary. It felt thick, like it was pressing against their ears, trying to stop them from moving forward. Myra's voice cracked through the stillness. "Maybe we shouldn't open it." Jason's hand lowered slowly. "We're already here." The lock looked old, but wasn't strong. With one hard twist of his multi-tool, the latch gave way. A screeching metallic pop echoed off the walls as the lid creaked open. Inside, they didn't find treasure or relics. There was a small wax-wrapped bundle, bound in twine. Jason carefully removed it, laying it on the stone floor. When Mira unwrapped the wax, it revealed a leather-bound journal, aged and cracked. Beside it, tucked into the folds, was a tarnished silver locket. Mira opened it gently. Inside was a faded photograph of a girl, around 10 or 11 years old, with dark curls and hollow eyes, unsmiling. Jason opened the journal. Its pages were yellowed, ink faded but still readable. The first page was a single sentence, written in hurried, shaky script. "If you found this, you must understand, we did not do this out of hatred. We did it out of fear." They looked at each other, their breath sinking in quiet dread. Jason turned the page, reading aloud. October 17th, 1948. Her name was Lillian, my younger sister. She was special. That's what Mama always said. At first, it was the way she knew things. She would say someone was coming, and then there'd be a knock. She said the orchard trees whispered secrets, that the wind told her stories. We laughed. We thought it was imagination. But then, she said someone else was talking through her, that there were more voices than one inside her. That's when the drawings began. The next pages were filled with details, how Lillian changed. The journal described how she started drawing eyes, hundreds of them, on walls, paper, her bed sheets. She stopped sleeping. She murmured in Latin while awake. Her parents had taken her to doctors, priests, and even tried exorcisms. Nothing helped, the author wrote. One night, She stood in the middle of the orchard, barefoot in the snow, staring into the sky with her arms raised. Her eyes were black. She spoke in two voices. I swear to you, one was hers. The other wasn't human. Jason swallowed, flipping further into the journal. We brought her here, to this chamber, built it ourselves, dug the tunnel by hand. She helped. She said she wanted to be locked away. It's safer this way, she told us. I can feel it crawling closer to the surface. The entries became scattered, desperate. She smiles now all the time. She says it's learning how to use her body. She told me last night that if we don't keep her sealed in, the forest won't stay quiet for long. She begged me to do it. So I kissed her forehead, said goodbye, and laid the first brick myself. Mira pressed her hand over her mouth, her stomach twisting. She was entombed here, she whispered. Jason looked toward the far end of the chamber. A section of the wall seemed